Hello, hello, it's your favorite heretic here again. Today we are doing a little video about undercoating. Undercoating is a nice technique that helps start everything off, whether it be from the simplest of boys to the greatest of titans. Every plastic model, whether it be plastic, pewter, or what other fine cast, they all need applying paint to. But you can't apply paint straight to the model itself. You have to apply some type of primer, such as an undercoat, whether it be through Citadels, Army Painters, or a generic brand of your choice that is a paint and primer. For now, I'm going to just go over simple things for it, try to keep the video somewhat short and sweet and understanding. These three models right here, as you may be familiar with, these three are from previous warp crates I've opened. I forget their exact names, but you may, if you've seen them, you may know their names. But I'll be going over each one. Basically, these three I did all with the Citadel Chaos Black. As you can see, it's very nice, refined, it's beautiful, proper coat. It gives it a nice sheen to it. It does wonders. It's I would recommend it for all your very fancy and highly detailed models because it won't clog up as much in any of the things, as long as you take the time and make sure that you have the proper distance for it, the weather, all the appropriate requirements. It'll take you far. As you can easily see, it all just applies so lovingly nice. Alright. The second one is a Army Painter color primer. Basically, Army Painter is a nice secondary competitor, which when utilize it, it's not as shiny, but for this particular one is a matte, which is a nice base flat color, because all I want is just to apply the paint to it. I don't know if I want him in a particular army, I don't know if I want him as he is, but I at least have paint to the model, so now I can paint him over with whatever color I feel like. And finally we have Krylon. Krylon itself is a cheap alternative. Basically, it does exactly what it needs. Gets paint to model, and you're going to be painting over this. I will go over the plus and negatives of each one in a moment. I just wanted to show you guys the different types, as you may be able to see how each one definitely stands out. So, my recommendations is if you're a first-time rattle can user, I would recommend either going with the Citadel Chaos Black or the Army Painter Black. Reasons because these two will give you a lot more leeway than the generic brands. Like I said, if you're taking your time, you'll be able to get these out properly, and you'll still like them. Plus, because the companies are dedicated Army painters, they will actually give you step-by-step instructions on what you should do in nice visual aspect, such as basically, for example, the Citadel, it tells you what kind of environment you want to be in. Basically, for regular, it will be anywhere from 15 degrees Celsius to 25 degrees Celsius, or 59 to 77 Fahrenheit. Basically, a nice, proper weather. Not too windy, not too hot, not too cold. No rain, no snow, nothing crazy that may harm you or may affect the spray in any way. So basically just a nice regular day, not immediately after rain, because the humidity will kill the model. Both of them will have on how to shake it. Basically, shake it for a solid minute or two. Some models, this one requires 2 minutes, this one requires 1. The distance for the model, basically for this one's 15 to 20 centimeters. This one will be 20 to 40, or from 8 to 16 inches. They'll tell you how to spray it, basically left to right motions along the model. And as you're spraying down the model, you're going to be rotating it, get out all the nooks and crannies, and then basically let it sit for roughly 15 minutes, and the paint will set, and it'll be ready to paint over. And then for the Krylon, as some people may know, it's more of a generic indoor-outdoor paint effect, basically like not basically like metal or wood or things that you're just trying to cover over. Not exactly designed for models, but it's still usable. So let me just go over the ups and downs of each one. Citadel, best in the market, comes out very nice, very refined. Help is very well, especially if you're a new user. The only downside is the price tag. So in particular, it cost me about $17 to buy one can of the Citadel color. Other locations may be different. It might be 20, maybe more. It might be a lot harder for you to get a hold of these. So, like I said, availability and price-wise is the only downside. Other than that, it tells you what you need to do, how you need to do it, and if you take your time, you can come out with something very, very nice. So, Army Painter. Army Painter, basically main primary upsides, same thing. Very refined, very simple. It gives it a nice matte color to your models, so you could either still use it as a base coat, or you could use it as just as a simple primer and apply new colors to it. It's a bit cheaper, so like for example, this one's about $13.50. It's usually these two will go hand in hand. Citadel is the primary. Army Painter will be just a bit cheaper than it, so it's a lot more usable. Same things. The only downsides would be based off your skill level. This is good to help you learn how to do it, but if you're not used to if you're not used to rattle can, this would probably be more like a second can to buy after the first. But still, like I said, very helpful tutorial still. Like I said, the only downside is based on your skill level. Because if you want to use it just as pure, if you want to use this as a pure matte or as pure base color, you would still need to like obviously do a bit more painting because touching up and all that. Finally, the Krylon. Krylon is a generic one, but this is for any other paint and primer that you decide to use, because I also use another brand as well. I'm not going to bother saying their name because I'm not dedicated to them yet. Krylon specifically, if you ever get a generic brand, here's what you must do. Well, hang on. The upsides of the generic brand, this particular one I bought for about $8. You can find them at Walmart. You can find the cheaper brands as well there. Other locations, these are a lot easier to get a hold of. The downsides, however, it's going to be a lot. First downside, you must read the can carefully. Now, some of you veterans will probably not care as much, but the newbies, you need to read the can carefully before purchasing it. Thing one, make sure it says primer. Not just paint, a primer. If you just apply paint to the model, it's not going to stick. It's going to fall off. It's going to come off easily. There's going to be issues. Thing two, make sure it is a flat color, like flat black or flat yellow or flat green. Why flat? Because flat is the easiest one to apply paint to. There are two other versions. There's the glossy and there's the satin. Those are very shiny. Those are very texture rich. I would not recommend using anything but flat for standard models because it's the easiest to apply paint to. The other two require several passes alone on painting the model itself in order to apply your paint to the model. Step 3. Make sure that it says plastic. If plastic is not in the primary things, such as metal, wood, and plastic, then it's not going to work because certain brands can melt models, especially if it's plastic. Like I said, couple upsides, a lot of downsides. Upsides, it's very cheap. Upsides, it applies the paint to it. Downsides, you need to pay attention that it's a primer, that it's flat, that it works for the models you're using, such as plastic or metal, depending on what models you get. This is useful for mass armies, such as orcs or Tyranids or Imperial Guardsmen, something where you're going to be spraying a lot of generic men. I would highly encourage you only use it for this, especially if you haven't rattle canned undercoated for much. Never use this as your first time thing. Stick with the other two first, and then once you get about, I don't know, 3 cans in, you should have enough experience to know how far away it needs to be, how close it needs to be, everything. This generic brands are not designed for models itself, but they can be used for it. Like I said, I'm being very serious on this portion because of how much it affects it. You can clot the details. You can screw up the model depending on the brand. It can melt. It will also, another thing for these generic brands is you may not be able to smell it. There is a good little scent that comes off this guy. Now, one model, it's not going to be too bad. I mean, unless your nose is right against it, then you can smell it. But for example, if you're spraying like 10 or 50 or 100 at once, if you're spraying a whole army with this, it's going to smell a lot. So I highly encourage that if you use this, that you have an extra area to vent out your models. Roughly a day or two is my normal thing. So a garage, a closet, something to where it's not going to collect, where it's going to be well ventilated out, where it's not going to get damaged by anybody. Because this will smell for a few days, minimum. So it's good for generic guys, not for your fancy ones, not for the highly detailed ones. Never use this for the detailed ones until you get very used to it, until you find a brand that you really trust. I would highly encourage you to use Citadel, if not Army Painter, for these because of how effective it is. Alright, enough with my little rant. That is basically the whole premise of it as well. It's very, like I said, the brands are useful. You can use what you feel like, whatever you're comfortable with. Let me also say one more thing. Safety. Safety, safety, safety. I'm going to go over it multiple times. Wherever you do these, make sure it's a well-ventilated area outside, a garage, something with air coming in. 2, weather permitted as well. No rain, no thunderstorms, no high winds, no snow, nothing that will either injure you or mess with the paint as it travels from your can to your model, because high humidity, for example, will cause spots on the spray. High winds will divert the spray all over the place, possibly injuring yourself. For example, the wind goes against you, it will shoot the paint into your eyes, blinding you. You would inhale it, and you'll have to cough it up and other junk. Like I said, it can be dangerous. It's the easiest thing to do, but it's also the easiest thing to screw up. And then obviously 3. Make sure you take your time with these, because like I said, if you screw up the base coat, you're gonna screw up everything else. But however you decide to do it, whatever brand you decide to go with, you are completely up to your choice. Now, before I forget, I did get a little something special in the mail. And let me go ahead and see if I can pull it up real quick. Alrighty, today we got Necrons. So, like I said, with Warp Crate, it's basically a nice little service, $25 a month, and they send you XS models. For this one in particular, I actually got a box of Necrons. It appears someone was trying to paint, or they at least put together. Perfect for usability. I might actually do something different with this one. I haven't really figured it out. But, like I said specifically, if you want, definitely look it up. It is quite a very nice little service. $25 every month, or $25 a month. They send me 2 boxes, and it basically, as you see, I'm able to use these guys for my model painting. add it to my army, maybe resell them, maybe use them as commissions, who knows. But like I said, that will be really it for this video. Like I said, be safe out there, be careful, take your time with things. I would also recommend looking up YouTube tutorials on how to spray these models. That way you at least get a visual on how you do things. Alright, hope you all have a wondrous day, and see you next time.